赶快找到曙光。
Revealed almost a year ago to this very day, I mean, so off the radar that it wasn't even announced on YouTube. Like I said a few days ago, I doubt most of you even familiar with this one, even though I mentioned it in another video. Anyway, number one, we have a Tomb Raider game or a project pretty much inspired by, heavily inspired by, out of China, with over $50 million of funds out of a Kickstarter called the Grass of Genesis. Guys, Grass of Genesis has been in the making for over 4 years now. The game is said to be coming to PCs and the PlayStation 5 and eventually Xbox Series X as well at some point in the following year. Coming up behind that, we have 34 Everlast. It's a super concentrated action puzzle game where your discoveries and actions are supposed to unravel a rather complex world of actions in a dying world. What I just read was the game's description on Steam. However, what it is itself is an action adventure that just lets you play in rounds of up to 10 minutes each, whilst providing a AAA game quality. Funny enough, it was actually made for working class adults to be able to play a game as good as Ghost Runner or God of War in a much shorter period. Check it out. Game said to be coming to PCs only in about a month. We hear. Interactive is working on a project called Lushfoil Photography Sim. Now, we all know these folks are pretty much breaking every little rule in gaming to reach out a lot of limits. What we've got over here now is almost this body cam and look game, somewhat a reality or very realistic Unreal Engine 5 interactive photography simulation in nature, offering some really nice landscapes presented in top-notch visual fidelity. Here's a trailer. Game set to be coming to all consoles sometime next year. Moving on to number 4, we have the Old West Northwood, a simply just walking simulator designed to demonstrate the graphic capabilities of Unreal Engine 5. Now you see, you can actually try Old West here on itch. There's a demo for it here with a very interesting quality for an indie project that offers actually both first and third person maneuvers. Here's a trailer with the premise of a full game with a legit story releasing by the end of the year. Announced maybe 3 years ago, initially even though remained silent for a whole year until the official announcement was made in IGN. Number 5, we have one of the most anticipated yet off the radar projects continuing the Swordman series of games going by the name Love, this story of Yunliu. It's a Souls-like hack and slash RPG, quite a bit like the upcoming Black Myth Wukong. It's a PC to PlayStation 5 exclusive and set to be coming out next year.
Janta's hope, Toshara. She waits for a speeder to pass before crossing the road. Breaking into a jog, she goes by a Twi'lek woman leaning against a post.
Number 6 by Ubisoft/Lucasfilm Games from a month ago, not to mention, in partnership with Massive Entertainment, best known for its work on the Division games. We've got over here the first ever open world Star Wars game titled Star Wars Outlaws, that is on its way to PCs in the next generation of consoles only, early next year. And as Ubisoft stated, it's actually the first of its own kind entry set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi.
On screens throughout the establishment.
All troopers, we have reports of a fugitive in Janta's Hope. Move to apprehend.
Kay runs outside.
That Imperial announcement wouldn't be about you, would it?
Could be.
I told you not to trust her.
Not the first time we've outrun the Empire.
With Nyx running at her side, Kay sprints up a ramp onto a landing pad. They hurry up a ship's open ramp, and once inside, make a beeline for the cockpit, where ND5 waits in the co-pilot's seat.
We need to leave.
Yeah, no kidding.
As Kay sits in the pilot's chair, options appear over the seat, controls, and navigation computer. The ship lifts off.
Survival experience that you can enjoy both solo and multiplayer with the co-op mod available day one from the alpha.
Next up we have Rooted. I mentioned this one a month ago, maybe last. This is a survival, almost cloned off of Last of Us game, about using Unreal Engine 5 but still in very early stages of development. This game is set to be coming out in about a year from now. Once released, it'll support co-op play, a day and night cycle, season shift and stuff, and in terms of story, we're still anticipating a trailer.
Old world and the former civilization is at the heart of the game. You'll need to explore this world to ensure your survival, develop your skills to improve your equipment, and access still infected areas. All the remains of the past civilization will allow you to equip yourself, secure yourself, but also to fight. Enemies will attack you because they want your resources, your flesh, or simply because they are programmed to.
18 years of agony and torment, waiting for the prophecy to be fulfilled.
Been in the making for over a whole year now, finally resurfaced a couple of weeks ago in case you missed it. Number 8 we have Stray Souls. This is a story-heavy psychological survival horror game that was announced for PCs and consoles years ago. Stray Souls is being developed using Unreal Engine 5 as well, due out by the end of the year. It's set to combine Japanese survival horror elements with Western paranormal activity style, with a shift in components even and some really heavy puzzles.
I know the danger he's in, but he's the only one who can stop her and end this. Daniel, I'm sorry.
Coming up behind that, we have Perfect New World. First, I'm getting mentioned this is a Eastern fantasy MMORPG with the premise of playing as a soul tamer. This game's world is basically revolving around souls and reincarnation, is what it's supposed to be different from the usual pack of MMORPGs out there right now. And the races you get to choose, actually, which is the interesting part, is like pretty much the Lord of the Rings. You can choose from elves, mythics, which are like wraiths, humans, and I believe later on in dwarfs. Here's a trailer. Game set to be coming to PCs only in about a few months.
I didn't know there were bears in these woods.
With Marvel Spider-Man 2 set for October 20th this year, the game went out and it's now live for pre-order for the price of $70. If you haven't already heard, this game's map will be roughly twice the size of the previous game, and they've added Queens and Brooklyn this time, whereas you will be able to freely switch between Peter Parker's Spider-Man and Miles Morales, although for just exploring the game's open world, not story, and this is some in-game footage in case you missed it.
This was our dream. I'm not going to lose you.
We're going to heal the world.
Announced almost a month ago, coming from the same developers of Amnesia. Number one, we have a brand new Unreal Engine 5 project here going by the name Still Wakes the Deep. Well, what the creators are calling a return to the first-person narrative horror genre, revolving around a offshore oil rig worker, which is just fighting for his life through a vicious storm and the freezing waters of North, whilst all lines of communication has been out of order. Check it out. Game's coming to PCs and Xbox Series X only next year.
You're part of Constellation now. Part of our family.
If you've already seen the 20-minute gameplay showcase of Starfield from a few months ago, well, Bethesda went on and resurfaced about 30 minutes more with the Xbox showcase, in addition to like a newly designed controller and headphone, optimized and remodeled for Starfield specifically. The game is now coming to PCs and Xbox Series X September 6, but to begin with, the game is so huge in scale, it'll allow you to travel to over 1,000 planets initially.
These artifacts could be everything we've been looking for. Another great secret the universe is asking us to unravel.
Human settlements throughout the galaxy could be at risk.
We are not stopping. Whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
Spiritual successor to the original 2014 release, it acts as a full reboot for the franchise, taking place in a vast, interconnected world over 1,000 years later.
Lords of the Fallen is now coming out October 13 for PCs and next generation of consoles only. If you missed it, we got a new trailer for it, just make sure to check it out. The game itself, if you are new to, is a reboot of an almost decade-old action RPG which was technically announced last year, with the same name as a dark fantasy Souls-like. Here's some gameplay, and if you're wondering, it is indeed quite a bit inspired by the Dark Souls or the more recent Elden Ring.
And, of course, treasures. And while Axiom presents its own challenges, untold horrors await in its nightmarish counterpart. Thanks to the Umbral Lamp, players can enter this lightless world at any time in one of two ways. When slain by the foes of Axiom, at which point you'll resurrect in the same location, albeit in Umbral, or by performing the Umbral Rift and willingly sacrificing one of your 2 lives. But the lamp holds yet more power, granting the ability to flay the soul from an enemy for some high damage attacks, and even manipulate the very environment of the Umbral world.
There's gotta be a way out of this.
Johnny, I'm dying. There's nothing can stop that.
Been in the making for a whole year already. Number 14, it is Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty, which is probably the biggest expansion pack we're about to come across in 2023, introducing new cybergenetic system options for your characters, a whole new district to the game, a much more accurate penalty system, and a few adjustments in RPG mechanics, skill trees, and stuff like that. This expansion, in case you missed it, will eventually come out on September 26th for PCs and the next generation of consoles only.
Tossing us back into the fray, huh?
Stay sharp. We're in the wolf's den now.
Get Myers out of there.
Time to evac.
Her safety is the top priority.
Shit! They catch us out here, we're dead.
Wait, hear that?
God almighty! It's moving! Run! This way! Quick!
From November last year, number 15, we have Level 0. Guys, Level 0 is an asymmetrical survival horror PvP where a team of scientists must just repair an electrical malfunction on a spaceship in the future. Kind of like Alien's premise after a long journey some 20 years into the future, where they realize there's more to that malfunction or a simple systemic error. Games set to be coming to consoles and PCs by the end of the year.
We have to restore the power now! Grab the car to Sector C!
Got it.
Okay, I'll see you at the gate.
I know you're ready. You've got this.
Number 16 is the follow-up to Forza Motorsport 7, going by the same name as always, Forza Motorsport supposedly 8. The game is now finally coming out October 10 on PCs, Xbox Series X, as a Microsoft exclusive, with the premise that the new Motorsport will be a generational leap in immersion, with the addition of ray tracing, better graphics of course, better vehicle destructions, a full day and night cycle just the same, and a bigger world.
Was your best lap yet.
This is my timeline!
Number 17, we have Goner. First time getting a mention in the list as a first-person perspective survival horror that actually tells the story of a son that's following his missing mother's research in this unknown island. Now the trailer over here that came out with halfway indicates what the game is in pace. There's a lot of crafting, building, dinosaurs, and eventually a lost civilization. Game's a PC exclusive and releasing later this year. And last but not least, we've got over here Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. That is one of Ubisoft's longest awaited open world action adventures in the making. The French folks Ubisoft actually just announced that the game is now coming out to PCs in the next generation of consoles only December 7 this year, and even dropped a new trailer to keep up the hype. Not a cinematic, an actual gameplay for once, featuring a bit of story though, environment, the world itself, and a lot more. Take a look.
The Kinglor Forest is a lush rainforest brimming with life and dense vegetation in the shade of awe-inspiring floating mountains. This is the home of the Aranahe, a clan of peaceful weavers who will guide you on your first hunt and on your first flight. The Aranahe will show you the way to the rookery, where you can bond for life with your very own Ikram. The Ikram is a devoted companion that you can name, feed, and customize. Experiment with acrobatics and feel a rush of adrenaline as you dive from the sky and explore the open world of Pandora from the air. If you travel north, you'll get to the upper plains, an expansive grassland filled with contrasts and open views as far as the eye can see. The nomadic Seswa clan live here in symbiosis with gigantic beasts